On the agenda tonight, we're going to be taking a look at Fleetwood Mac, focusing in on Stevie Nicks' performance of Silver Springs. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So, with this particular video, it's going to be a good one to focus on because I had somebody in the comment section who said, when we were talking about auto-tune and pitch correction, they said that it wasn't really just focusing on the technology and how it's improving the voice, it's just that the music that I like isn't popular anymore, and it's just that I'm angry about the modern industry and all this kind of stuff. But as you guys know, if you've been watching the channel for any length of time, we focus on everything, even bands that I am fans of and bands that play the kind of music that I like. If they are using auto-tune and pitch correction, I will point it out. I'm not going to start hiding things just because it's a particular band or artist that I personally like. We keep it all really objective on the channel. So having said that, we are going to be focusing in on a live performance from 1997, and we're going to be having a look at Stevie Nicks' voice, and we're going to be comparing her voice from 1997 to the original record. But when I say that, her voice from this particular performance, the video has been remastered and re-released 5 years ago, I do believe. So now that we've got the background and we know that this live performance predated a lot of the effects that are used nowadays to alter pitch and correct pitch, we're going to be having a listen to it, and we're going to be listening to isolated vocals here and analysing. So if you want to watch the performances the whole way through without me interrupting or looking at it in depth, then the links are in the description below as always. But let's have a listen to Stevie Nicks Isolated from 1997, but then remastered and released 5 years ago. And by the way, this is from the official Fleetwood Mac channel.
You could be my silver spring, blue-green colors flashing.
And I'm going to jump in immediately because the first phrase, when I heard this, I thought, okay, well, Stevie Nicks, first of all, has got a really accurate voice pitch-wise. So it sounded really accurate, but she can do that. But then the second phrase, unfortunately, has been pitch corrected, and quite heavily, which we can see on screen, absolutely stuck to the F4 here and stuck to the E4. But this is a really interesting case because Stevie Nicks can hit lines and is probably, just due to the nature of her vocal technique, one of the most accurate singers you will see for hitting pitches. And the reason that I say that is because she doesn't have a wide vibrato.
You could be my silver spring.
I mean, you can hear that it's being manipulated ever so slightly, but this really subtle vibrato that we get, which is like almost it's a tiny wobble that's really subtle, but it's definitely in there. And because it's pitch corrected, it means that that wobble is still in there, but the notes have been moved manually by somebody in the studio, dragging it over these lines. But this is why I want to feature the original record, because this is Stevie Nicks' voice, not pitch corrected. And look how similar it is, to the point where, I'm going to say in this video, it's madness that you've got somebody that sings this accurately, and then on the right hand side they've applied pitch correction to somebody that's already on the lines effectively. But the only difference here is that obviously you're going to get a lot more expression. So let's just have a listen to that phrase from the original record.
You could be my silver spring.
And there we have it. And it's almost like the artifacts disappear because there are artifacts from the isolating process of the vocal, getting the isolated vocal, but it's almost like the artifact artifacts that you hear disappear. Therefore, it must be a huge part of the pitch correction that is creating those artifacts, and that is what happens, and that's why it sounds more mechanical, because it's gone through that processing process, as I always say.
I would be your...
Again, I mean, here, just absolutely stuck to this E4, but I'll tell you what, because we are stuck to the lines here and stuck to the lines here, we'll go back to that vocal in the studio, and I'll tell you what, I'll just turn down the live vocal.
I would be your only dream.
Yes, here we go. Left hand side, natural vocal, no pitch correction. Right hand side, pitch corrected. And you'll start to notice this kind of thing that I've mentioned before about looking like castles. When somebody's voice has been pitch corrected, obviously now we're getting flat lines and it starts to look like a castle, but you know, these little castles that start happening just because of the way that these vocal lines are plotted, because it's just plotting pitch. So it means that the pitch of the voice has been stuck at, you know, perfectly an F4 at 440 hertz tuning. Whereas on the left hand side, look at the variation we get on this E4 compared to this E4, stuck to the line. But this one, we get a wobble, we then ascend, and we're then sharp, and then we kind of go up a little bit beyond the note here, come back down, and we're now flat, and we stay a little bit flat, and then we go up, and then a bang on for the G4. So you get all of this expression in the voice that is eradicated by squashing the voice to the line. But again, looking at this on the left-hand side, she can already hit the pitches really accurately, so it begs the question, why is this happening anyway? You know, just reminds me of Spinal Tap, where, you know, fiction is now reality, where you've got people listening to a voice, and this is what Stevie Nicks' voice would have looked like to the people who are analysing it and mixing it in the studio. And they'll look at this and think, oh, it's not on the lines. We better make it go on the lines. You know, like having an amp that goes to 11. And, you know, they'll say, oh, let's move it onto the lines. You go, well, no, it's not. It doesn't need to be on the lines because it's a human voice. It's not a keyboard. The keyboard is tuned to 440 hertz equal temperament. It's not a keyboard, it's a voice. And they'll say, oh yeah, but it's not on the lines. Yes, it's not on the lines because it's a voice. It's not a keyboard. Yeah, but we can put it on the lines so that now it's better. It's like, well, no, it doesn't need to be because it's already perfect over here. The human voice is going to sing more accurately than a keyboard because a human voice hasn't been tuned to 440 hertz tuning. And then they'll say, yeah, but it's not on the lines. Say, yes, that's the point. It's not a keyboard. So allow the voice to be the instrument that it is. A keyboard is a keyboard. A voice is a voice. Those are different things. Yeah, but it's not on the lines. You know, and they can't get the fact that, you know, making 10 louder would be the same as 11. You know, it's that kind of thing that they can't understand, that the voice isn't a keyboard, so stop making it into a keyboard.
And did you say she was pretty? And did you say that she loves you?
Yeah, that kind of thing. C4, E4. Again, it's flattened that out.
Say that she...
So that's what I mean about a keyboard sound, like you're just pressing a key down and you're getting the note.
I'll begin not to love you. Turn around, see me running.
It's a shame that as soon as a note is held on for any length of time, because it's straightened onto the note, it's flattened, so we're not getting any variation in pitch. That's where you would hear that tiny variation, that tiny vocal cord sound. But that's what's missing. That's what... Well, I'm just thinking that if they were to reprogram pitch correction to now have an algorithm in it that oscillates on a held note, that would be a way to hide it. Not that I'm trying to give people ideas of how... I mean, the whole point of this video is, why apply it in the first place when the original voice you're working with, have a look over here, we're pretty much on the line here. Again, so accurate here, slightly flat here, but on the line here, on the line here. Stevie Nicks doesn't need pitch correction, but it's being applied anyway. So that's what's so stupid about it. So if you're starting to apply pitch correction to a voice that doesn't need it, if you are going to try and make it fly under everyone's radar, you'll need to do something about that flattened note happening, because that's what starts to sound like talkbox, like a keyboard. Another reason for featuring this performance, but I mean, it was a request anyway, so of course I'm going to feature it, but it does cover some other angles where people say that, you know, bands in previous generations didn't use pitch correction or auto-tune, and a lot of people from that generation are just fans of that music because it doesn't have that. But now, with Fleetwood Mac, they are applying it to live performances. So that means that the younger generation now, if they are looking at this performance, if they're watching this particular video, they will know that Fleetwood Mac uses pitch correction. So they are now in that bracket of other bands and artists. And, you know, love it or hate it, that's just the fact of the matter, that older performances, as we've seen with Freddie Mercury, and who else? Randy Meisner. You know, you've got great voices that are being pitch corrected. And this is another one, Stevie Nicks. Bands and artists from then are now being pitch corrected, so they are in the bracket now of other artists who are being pitch corrected more than often because they're not as accurate pitch-wise. They can't hit the notes as accurately as a lot of older singers could, but the singers that could hit the notes are now being pitch corrected into this same place as everyone else. So there's that argument that, you know, they're all now the same. And if you say, oh, I don't like new artists, I prefer Fleetwood Mac, you say, well, yeah, but they use pitch correction. And then you've got the other side of the debate that, well, how much of a say do the artists get in the production of their songs, of their live performances? And I would say that, sadly, as has always been the case, bands and artists are a commodity. They are a way to make money for the record label who owns them, so the record label will just do what they want to with the sound, and the band and the artist won't get a say in it. And just to finish with, there's a tiny bit in this live performance where the isolating software has picked up what I think is the guitar as well as the voice, so it plots it. So I've brought in the instrumentation so that we can hear it as well. Have a listen. And there it was, the A3. And I mean, it's a borderline, maybe wrong note, but anyway, it got picked up. And have a look at where the note is. It's not on the A3 line here, so it means that the guitar is being played slightly sharp. So, again, it just backs up the whole point that a live performance has to be allowed to be what it is and stay what it was when it happened, because Stevie's voice is going to be hitting pitches that's the average of everything that she can hear. So when she hears a guitar that might be ever so slightly sharp, she's making that calculation via her ear and her voice naturally. She's singing just the best notes. And I mean, how ironic is it that the guitar, which is tuned to 440 hertz, is slightly sharp. So the guitar's been allowed more expression than the voice has been allowed. It should be the opposite, because you don't tune your vocal cords to 440 hertz, but that's exactly what they're doing. And that's the problem. So, you know, this very much proves the point that, well, why haven't you tuned the guitar, which is an instrument, to 440 hertz and corrected this? Surely you should be correcting all the instruments before you even start messing with the voice, because that's the foundation of the sound. Surely the sound's got to be perfect, because then the voice will have relevance to the background, because the background will be perfect, and then we can make the voice perfect and stick it to 440 hertz. But this is why it sticks out even more. When you're starting to stick the voice to lines, it's now lost the relevance to the backing, because the backing is potentially going to be slightly sharp, slightly flat. So yeah, this one has been edited and re-released. And they did say that the video had been remastered. So whether they're remastering the video and then adding the pitch correction in afterwards, hoping that nobody will notice, but you know, that's what these videos are all about. We look at it objectively and we can see that it has been pitch corrected, especially when you compare the singer's voice to the voice in the studio, knowing how accurate that she is, you know, or that she was in the studio, but also live. I've seen her perform this live from around the same time with crowd footage, and she still was really accurate with pitch. She wouldn't have needed pitch correction, but it gets applied anyway. And it's just interesting to watch Fleetwood Mac performances as well, because it is very much like a real life soap opera on stage, especially with this song. So it's interesting to watch from that point of view as well. But thank you guys for requesting this video for me to take a look at. As always, let me know what you guys think. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Keep those suggestions and requests coming in the comments section below for future videos as well. And I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!